Okay, so let's look at alternate tracks or vocal comping. Have you guys seen the specs on some of these recorders where they'll say they have 8 tracks, but then they have, say, 64 virtual tracks or V tracks? What the heck is a V track and how do we use this? Well, let's take an example of, say, one of Boss's more popular recorders, the BR600. Its specification says that it has 8 tracks, but within each track you have 8 virtual tracks. So let's explode out the very first track right here. Let's imagine we want to record a male vocal in there. We could call that, say, track 1/1, right? And then someone comes up with a bright idea, let's record a female there. So then they do that with a female. And then someone says it might even work as an instrumental. So you break out your Les Paul and you record that as well. We have done all those recordings within the first track, but here's the deal. Then when you are set up to mix all this down, you have a palette of those 3 tracks. Only one can be played back at the same time, but then you can say, you know, when everybody's sitting around, you've got a clear head and say, let's try this out as a male vocal, or let's try it as a female vocal, or maybe let's try it out as a guitar. You have all those options. So virtual tracks or these alternate tracks are a way to keep alternates of a track. I mean, it's not the place to place say a guitar, then bass, then drums. You want them on separate tracks, so they need to play back at the same time. But if you have an alternate idea for a specific track, maybe it was some alternate lyrics, or maybe it was on a guitar solo track where you want to try 5 different types of solos, then you could record them on all of these guys here. So hardware recorders will do that. Software recorders can do something even a little bit more interesting. Check out this video. Okay, so let's do an example of vocal comping or compiling vocals. Basically, the idea is this. You record a number of vocal takes. You're recording the same material, but you're recording different takes, and that way you might go through and say, you know, I like the first part of this take and the middle of this take and so on. And then you can slice and dice and compile the perfect vocal. Well, it ain't going to be the perfect vocal if I sing it, but we'll give it a try, okay? So what I've done in Propellerhead Record is set up a loop between bar 4 and the end of bar 8, it's a 4-bar loop, and I've set it up with a pre-count, and basically what will happen is this, as I record, and every time it loops around, it will record onto a new take. It won't overwrite what I've done, and that way we can have all those options to be able to slice and dice. So here we go. I remember in the day, being all so independent. I remember how I'd say, I could never fail, I was cynical. I remember in the day, being all so independent. I remember how I'd say, I could never fail, I was cynical. I remember in the day, being all so independent. I remember how I'd say, I could never fail, I was cynical. Okay, I'm not sure how many that was, maybe it's 3 or 4. Let me turn that monitor on here. And then we'll double click on this guy here, and you can see that we have 3 different takes here. This one up here, I don't need, I'll select it and delete it. So we have our 3 right here. That was the first one we recorded, the second one we recorded, and the third one we recorded. And here's what we can do. Now this will be different depending on which DAW you're using, but on this guy here, you just select the razor tool, and then you say, you know what, I want the first part of that, then I want the second part of this, and then I really like this part here. And then on the last take, that was all good from there, except this part here. And then we'll play out from there. So you can see in, let me just go back here. You can see in here, we have 3 different takes, and we'd taken different chunks from each of these takes, and let's have a listen to how that sounds. I remember in the day, being all so independent. I remember how I'd say, I could never fail, I was cynical. I mean, isn't that amazing? That's fail right there, in the middle of, I could never fail. It's got the F-A and then the L right there. This is independent. So you can see that you can really get down to, you know, just in individual syllables and get the perfect one. Let's have a listen to it again. I remember in the day, being all so independent. I remember how I'd say, I could never fail, I was cynical. So vocal comping is a great tool to have, particularly if your vocalist is going away somewhere. If you have a guest vocalist coming in, have them record 4 or 5 different takes. That way, when they leave, you'll have the option, and all those will really have that ability to be able to just chop all those pieces up to get the best part. So if a person doesn't get a certain syllable, or they're a certain flat, they may be flat in a certain part of the verse, then you can go through and then find a different take where they were singing right on key, chop them around, and you're good to go.